Hey, what is going on, everybody? My name is Monatui, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I'm bringing you guys our NPL Season 7 Week 5 team builder and match. This week we are going up against Rizzy Powell, coach of the Phoenix Sunflora. If you've not done so already, please check out his YouTube link in the description below. I apologize that there's not two separate videos for this, one being my team builder and one being the match. I'm kind of condensing this into one video. I just don't really have the time to do two videos. It's going to be a lot easier just to take care of both of these at once. I know that may sound kind of silly, but having to render and edit two different videos is going to take a little bit more time than I need, so I'm just going to compact them into one quick video. We're going to go over the team very quickly here. Before we do so, I will pop up Riz's roster. For his roster, he has the potential to bring Kieran Black, which is going to be his Zemon, Fable, Greninja, Excadrill, Gengar, Breloom, Mega Aerodactyl, Mesprit, Lantern, Blaziken, and Furfrou. So with that being said, let us get into the team of 6 that we have decided to bring. Starting off, we got our Mega Lopunny going on here. Super standard Mega Lopunny, high jump, kick, return, fake out, and quick attack. I want the double priority on this mon just because he has potential Scarfers like Gengar. He also has things like Breloom that I would like to hit a couple more times, or that I would like to be able to get off a quick attack onto before he's able to hit me with a Mach Punch. And he has potential Scarfers, like he has potential for Scarf Greninja. I don't know if he'd bring that, but he could bring it. Excadrill, even though Quick Attack doesn't do too much to, I can potentially pick that thing off if it's weakened. I can pick off potentially like a Scarf Blaziken or something along those lines if Mega Aerodactyl is weakened. Since it naturally outspeeds me, I'll be able to hit that thing with a quick attack and potentially knock it out. Greninja with quick attack, I will be able to hit it before it's able to hit me with like a Specs Water Shuriken, which is very, very useful. So dual priority is very good. Toxic is not very useful versus his team just because his best switch in being his Fable can be Magic Guard, which will completely wall me. So I feel like this is just the best set of moves to bring versus his team. Again, relatively standard Mega Lopunny, as I tend to do. Then we got Life Orb Mimikyu, once again, also just very standard Jolly Max Speed. That will allow us to outspeed a Max Speed Timid Knodscarf Kieran Black by 1 point, which is very nice. Big win con versus his team. He does not have a resist for both of my dual stabs, and at +2, I OHKO the entirety of his team, which is really cool. Like at +2, I knock out the Mega Aerodactyl with Play Rough, I knock out the Mesprit with Shadow Claw. The Lantern I need a little bit of chip damage onto before I knock it out with +2 Play Rough, but I can potentially do that. And then Furfrou obviously does take on my hits relatively well, but he can't hit me with too many moves that hit me super effectively. There's not really much Furfrou can do to me back, although obviously it could potentially Toxic me or Thunder Wave me or something like that. I'm also not really expecting Furfrou just because I do have some solid special offense on my team, being Reuniclus and Kyurem, and I do have Mega Lopunny, which can deal with it. Plus I have Ferrothorn that can get a lot of damage off onto it, so I don't really expect the Furfrou to come, though I do have my prep for it. Regardless, Mimikyu is a very big threat versus his team. I do have to be very careful for his team because he has 2 mons that can OHKO me through the disguise. That is going to be Kieran Black, which OHKOs me with Ironhead through disguise, and he has the Excadrill, which can OHKO me through the disguise because of Terravolt as well as Mold Breaker. They just ignore my disguise and they kill me, so I gotta be very careful of that. But other than that, Mimikyu is a very big threat versus this team, and hopefully it'll be able to put in some work. Next up, we have our Choice Scarf Kyurem here. Relatively standard once again. Draco Meteor, Ice Beam, Earth Power, and then Ironhead. Ironhead is just there to hit the Clefable. Timid Ice Beam actually does more to physically defensive Clefable than Ironhead. However, Ironhead is kind of a last resort type of thing versus Clefable in case I have to A, flinch it, but the primary reason Ironhead is there in case it gets up a bunch of Calm Minds, I can go for Ironhead, get a little bit more damage off onto it, and then potentially deal with it with my other physical attackers being Mimikyu and Mega Lopunny. But we do have a response to Clefable that we will get into in a little bit. Scarf is very nice, Max Speed Timid, I at worst speed tie with his Choice Scarf Kieran Black. I outspeed everything else on his team. I outspeed his Scarf Excadrill, I outspeed Gengar if it's not Scarf, I outspeed Breloom. And I do live 1 Mach Punch from it. I can outspeed the Greninja and hit it with a Draco. I outspeed Jolly Mega Aerodactyl, which is very nice. So this is a very big threat versus his team. Dragon Ice is very spammable versus his team, which is really useful for me. And hopefully this thing will be able to clean up late game, or punch a couple holes through his team. Because if he's physically defensive Clefable, he doesn't really want to hard switch this thing into an Ice Beam. But regardless, that's going to be our Kyurem. Next up, we have our Reuniclus, Psychic Focus, Blast, Toxic, and Recover with the Regenerator and the Safety Goggles. This is going to be my switch into his Breloom. I can take a +2 Bullet Seed most of the time, depending on how many hits he gets. But I OHKO it 100% of the time. Safety Goggles allows me to switch into Spore, which is very nice, which is good because my Grass type is obviously weak to fighting. which is cool. We have Psychic and Focus Blast with our attacking moves, Psychic for stab, as well as hitting things like the Gengar and the Blaziken and the Breloom, which is very useful. Then we have Focus Blast there, that is just so that I can hit things like the Excadrill as well as the Greninja very hard. Even the Kieran Black if I need to hit that thing a little bit harder than Psychic would. So we have move coverage to hit pretty much the entirety of this team. Plus we have Toxic on there. Toxic's there to beat Unoworkable Fable. It is also there to potentially deal with his switch-ins such as Lantern, Furfrou if he decides to bring that, or even something along the lines of like a bulky Kieran Black. In case I don't want to risk Focus Blast versus that thing. So that's why we have this move set. We are regen just because Magikarp doesn't help too much in this game. I don't think he's going to be bringing. Well, for one, he doesn't have T-Spikes. He doesn't really have too many hazard setters. He obviously could bring rocks on something, but I'm not too afraid of rocks. And I don't really expect him to bring any random Toxic on anything, so I'm just going to have Regenerator there so I can switch into hits, switch out, get some passive health recovery, and then potentially deal with threats later on. Then next up we have our Toxapex here. This is my best answer to his Clefable. It also can deal with the Kieran Black depending on what it is. It can also deal with the Greninja. It can also take a hit from the Excadrill. It can kind of deal with the Gengar, the Mega Aerodactyl, the Breloom. Big threat versus this team. Very annoying for him to deal with. Haze allows me to beat Calm Mind Clefable, which is very nice. Even if he has Psychic, I'll be able to take that on. I'll be able to take a +1 Psychic easily, haze it, and then deal with it accordingly. Obviously this doesn't beat Magikarp Clefable 1v1, but I can stall it out of Calm Minds potentially because I do have more hazes than he has Calm Minds. And also, I can just use this as a pivot, haze his stats away, go out into another threat that can potentially deal with Clefable. Again, this is just a good wall for his team. Going to be very useful versus the entirety of his roster, which is very nice. And then the last member of our team is going to be our Ferrothorn, Gyroball, Bulldoze, Spikes, and Stealth Rock. Bulldoze is there so that I can A, slow down potential threats, and B, hit the Gengar super effectively, although Gyroball I believe actually does a little bit more, but also to hit that Excadrill super effectively, which is very nice because I'll be able to hit that thing with the Bulldoze, slow it down, and then hit it for a potential 2 KO depending on his EV spread, probably a 3 KO, but if he gets a little bit of chip damage off onto himself, then it will be a 2 KO, which is very nice. Bulldoze is also very useful for hitting the Lantern, even though Power Whip would be nice. The Bulldoze just allows me to hit it hit the other things on his team and potentially give me access to slow them down, which I would actually prefer over the power of Power Whip. And then our EV spread, we're meant to take on the Greninja as best as possible, and then a little bit of physical defense, so that we can take on mixed Kieran Black. We can take on Excadrill if we have to. We can take a Mach Punch from the Breloom relatively well. We can take a Fire Fang from the Mega Aerodactyl, especially with the Akaberry. We live Hidden Power Fires from things. We live Fire Blast from Clefable. We live Fire Fang from Mega Aerodactyl, which I believe I already mentioned. I can live HP Fire from Gengar, which I believe I mentioned as well. So Akaberry kind of just allows me guaranteed hit, and then I can proceed to get up a Hazard and potentially deal with the rest of the team. So I know this is a little bit of a rush team builder. Hopefully I went over it thorough enough. I'll just skim through the mons really quick if you want to see them again. But with that being said, we are now going to move on to the match, and I will see you there in a second. Okay, and here we are with the game. Like I said earlier, definitely check out Riz's YouTube channel in the description below. He's a cool guy, good content creator as well. As you can see, Riz actually decided to bring his Mega Aerodactyl, his Greninja, Breloom, Clefable, Excadrill, and Kieran Black. So a very offensive team he's got going on here. He didn't bring any of the bulk that I potentially expected him to bring, bar the Fable obviously, unless he could be like a bulky Mega Aerodactyl, he could be a bulky Kieran, but everything on his team hits hard, including that Fable, so I do have to be very careful of that. Looking at his team, it's absolutely destroyed by Mimikyu after I get up rocks, which is really nice. Like, there's obviously with the disguise, that's very good. I can outspeed Breloom and knock that thing out with Play Rough. I can dodge Mach Punches from that thing as well, which is very nice. I need some chip damage on the Excadrill before I can knock it out with +2 Shadow Sneak. Same thing with the Mega Aerodactyl, same thing with the Kyurem, obviously, though Kyurem I can outspeed and knock out with a Play Rough after rocks. Regardless, we are just going to get this game started. He is going to lead with his Clefable, I'm going to lead with my Ferrothorn. He is going to go right for the Calm Mind, which I did not expect him to do right away as I get up my Stealth Rock, and now I'm thinking, okay, I can just go out into my Toxapex, I am meant to deal with this thing, as he actually goes right for the Moonblast over Fire Blast, and I was assuming, okay, maybe he was expecting me to go out into something like Reuniclus, he wanted to get more damage off onto me, or something along those lines, but as you're going to see, he's going to pull out the Thunder, and this turn is crucial for a couple reasons. And one of the reasons, obviously, is he just revealed friggin' Combine Thunder on his Fable. I didn't expect that. I expected Moonblast Fire coverage to hit my Ferrothorn, or just mono attacking Moonblast, since I don't have great switch-ins to it, bar my Toxapex. I also expected potentially Psychic to hit my Toxapex, but unfortunately he has the Thunder, and Thunder is the only move that could knock me out there, and that's a little bit unfortunate. Now, I'm going to go out into my Mimikyu and set up a Swords Dance in order to threaten out this Fable. If he did stay in, I would have then been able to go for a Play Rough and get a Tuakio or Oko onto something. However, he's going to hard switch into his Excadrill. Like I said, I cannot stay in because with Mold Breaker, he will be able to just Oko me through my Disguise. So I go right into my Ferrothorn, get some Iron Barbs damage off onto him, which is very nice. And now what I am actually going to do is get up or go for a Gyroball in order to weaken the incoming Fable, or weaken whatever he wants to go into. Based on that Gyroball damage, as you can see, he was able to soft-boiled it up. That did 30%. That is definitely fully physically defensive Fable, or it looks like fully physically defensive Fable, so I'm going to keep that in mind as I go for the Spike here, because I really want Spikes to potentially whittle the Excadrill and whittle whatever else he wants to send in, so that I can potentially sweep, again, with my Mimikyu or with my Mega Lopunny. As you're going to see here, he's going to go for the Moonblast, as I am going to go for another Gyroball to bring him down relatively low, so that I can get a free switch out into my Mimikyu once again, which does have its Disguise. He goes for the Soft-Boiled here, and now what I can do is just go right for a Swords Dance as he goes for the Moonblast. I'm still at full health, and +1 Moonblast definitely cannot knock me out from here, and I don't think he's going to want to lose his Fable. So what I'm actually going to do is go for another Swords Dance. That way, he is forced out into something he may not want to take rocks damage later on. So I'm going to go in for the next Swords Dance. I'm at +4, and this Breloom has no chance of living. So I'm going to go right for that Life Orb Shadow Sneak, and we are able to knock him out. My Disguise is gone. However, at this point, I can still set up versus the Fable. I've only taken a little bit of damage with this thing. I can still set up versus potentially the Greninja, depending on what move it is locked into, if it is choice. But basically, my goal with Mimikyu is so that I can set up on the Fable and still run a train through his team. Regardless, I'm kind of forced out here just because Specs Hydropump is more than likely going to come out, and I don't want to take it. Even if he was Life Orb, I didn't want to take that damage, and I couldn't knock him out with Shadow Sneak in that range, so I do switch out. And here I'm going to go right for Gyroball, as he hard switches into Mega Aerodactyl. Not sure why that was the switch, but I'm very okay with it. He didn't have great responses to Ferrothorn here anyway. Regardless, he is now actually going to reveal the Spike as I go right for the Gyroball, allowing me to put this Greninja in range of hazards on switch out, or just put it in range of potentially the Shadow Sneak from my Mimikyu. And now I'm going to go for another layer of Spikes. I knew by the damage on Ferrothorn earlier that his Greninja is definitely Choice Spec, so I went for Spikes there knowing he was locked in, just so that I can get more chip damage onto things and put them in range of Mimikyu. Here, I go into Kyurem, I go right for the Scarf Earth Power. He, however, is going to send in his Greninja and sack it to the Spikes, giving Ferrothorn a kill. And now what he can do is go out into his Fable, but I'm okay with this. He's more than likely going to go for Calm Mind here. I can live a Moonblast regardless, as he does go for that Calm Mind. And here is where I make a boo-boo. I make a pretty dumb play. So I mentioned earlier, the Thunder onto my Toxapex was big. I should have calced that damage. For whatever reason, I know how naturally bulky Toxapex is, and I know that Fable, since it was physically defensive, it's not all that naturally strong, but I should have calced that, because this Fable is actually fully physically defensive, as I was correct, which is something I was correct in, but he's fully physically defensive, also just holding a Life Orb. And obviously you don't see Life Orb recoil because of the Magic Guard, and Life Orb is the only way he would have been able to kill my Toxapex. He did get a max roll on the Thunder, but regardless, had I just gone for the Calc there, instead of just assuming it always killed, I would have known that this is Life Orb, and I would have just attacked this thing instead of going for Swords Dance thinking I could take the hit. So he's going to go for Moonblast, and I'm going to get knocked out. Now, I'm going to explain in a little bit why this didn't actually matter 100%, but as you're going to see here, I can just go into Lopunny. I'm going to go for the Fake Out, followed by just spamming Return, hoping for a crit, hoping I can potentially do good enough damage to this Fable, but it's going to eat the Return easily because it is fully physically defensive. Like I mentioned earlier, he'll be able to soft-boiled up. I'm hoping for a crit at some point, preferably on the turn he doesn't go for soft-boiled, but you know, at this point in the game, once you're asking for hacks, usually you're not going to get the game to go the way you want it to go. So I'm just going to keep spamming return. He's going to keep clicking soft boiled, and then on this turn he's going to go for one more soft boiled, and then I believe on this turn he's just going to go for Moonblast to knock me out. So as you can see here, the return is not going to do enough damage. He will go for the Moonblast, and he will be able to knock me out. I do have a chance at winning here, though. I can go out to my Kyurem and go for the Ironhead to flinch this thing, and then I can just win with my Kyurem afterwards. Kyurem Black is obviously going to take a lot of rocks damage. Excadrill has been weakened a little bit because of hazards, and I can click Ice Beam versus that. I can click Draco versus the Kyurem Black. He cannot hard switch into Excadrill on that. The only way I'd lose this game if I'm able to flinch this Fable is by missing Draco, or if he's able to get a switch into this as I go for Draco, allowing him to heal up. But even at this point, Kyurem Black does not appreciate taking Ice Beams. So regardless, as you can see here, I am going to go for the Ironhead, hoping for that flinch. It is a 30% chance, and unfortunately we do not get it, so there really isn't much else we can do at this point. If I were Combine Reuniclus, that also would have been huge. He was actually not Z-move on his Kyurem Black, and I would have been able to beat this thing 1v1, so because I'm not, I'm just going to have to click Psychic and hope for something magical to happen, so I'm going to go for Psychic again. I do actually get the crit now, which means that I am going to lower differential a little bit, but unless this Kyurem Black is, you know, has been skipping the gym, it's not going to be able to, it's not going to fail to knock me out. It will be able to knock out my Reuniclus, and we're going to lose 2-0 versus Rizzipow of the Phoenix Sunflora, and this is kind of an annoying game. Now, I'll talk about the play earlier where I made the mistake of setting up with my Mimikyu versus the Fable. Play rough, I forget the exact amount, I forget the exact calcs, but unless I got a max roll on play rough, lost my Mimikyu, went out into Lopunny, and gotten a max roll on return, I would not have been able to knock out the Clefable with Mega Lopunny afterwards. I would have been able to knock it out with Fake Out plus return, but his best play regardless would have just been to sack something else to the Fake Out plus High Jump Kick or return for Mega Lopunny, go back out into Clefable, and then be able to take the return and then click Soft Boiled in order to heal himself up back to full. Now, obviously, going for Play Rough there was my 100% best chance to win the game, because A, I could have potentially gotten those 2 max rolls in a row. It wasn't likely, but I could have gotten it. Also, with him being weaker with his Clefable, he would have been forced to go for a couple more soft boileds in a row, which would have meant that, which would have opened up the door for more potential crits, giving me a little bit more of a chance to get lucky. You know, obviously there's a chance for me to crit that Play Rough with Mimikyu as well, and if I crit that Play Rough, then I definitely knocked it out with a return from Lopunny, but regardless, none of that ended up happening because I made the mistake of not calcing Thunder on Toxapex. So that mistake in my game aside, I need to start prepping better. We have 3 losses so far. We're 2-3 now. We've lost to Gypsy, we've lost to Trev, we've lost to Riz. We have lost all those 3 games specifically due to prep. This was the first game I really felt like I made a mistake while playing, and even then, Riz's prep was just able to beat me. Life Orb, physically defensive Thunder Clefable was absolutely ridiculous in a good way for him, and it was able to just beat my wall to it, beat my response to that Clefable. Obviously the sub-toxic, or the sub-protect, Scald, Calm Mind, Suicune was able to beat the entirety of my team from Gypsy, and then obviously the Whirlpool trapping Tapu Fini was able to eliminate a threat on my team so that he can sweep with Mega Gallade. My prep has to change, and it has to get better, because I am losing these games consistently because I am not prepping optimally, whereas my opponents are giving it their best prep and they're able to just beat me outright on that. Not to disrespect their play at all, absolutely everybody that I've played so far has played perfectly fine, and that's also partly why they've been winning, because they've been prepping so well, and they've been playing with their team perfectly fine, whereas I'm playing fine, but my prep isn't up to theirs, so my prep has to change and it has to get better. This game was frustrating to lose, but I have to look at this game and I have to use this as an example to get better, because I can't continuously lose like this. I'm now 2-3. There are very good teams in this league that have the potential to run through the league, and I have to step up and make sure that I can win the next few games in a row so that I can secure my spot for playoffs, which is coming up sooner than I would like to admit. But regardless, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Next week we are going up against Mr. Murkrow, coach of the... I don't even remember his team. I know one of his team names is Burger Kinglers, and I'm just going to reference that because it's an awesome name. But regardless, thank you guys very much thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next game.